Okay, so that's the setup. Plus, so it requires put on tags on hold, and then there's another column here called return type. So what are you physically actually going to do with this? Are you picking it up and returning it, or are you just going to issue a credit? Normally, if you require a tag, you're actually going to be picking it up because you're bringing it back to the facility. If you're just issuing a credit, sometimes you don't need a tag. Okay, so that's the reason setup of why you're actually returning something. Then there's a defective setup. What's actually wrong with it? So this is more for information purposes. The third setup is email setup. So what we've done here is anytime something gets a status changes on the form, an email gets sent out to someone, whoever we've set up here. If it gets canceled, if it gets denied, when it gets approved. So these are all different templates. Well, actually, they're the same template. There's two different templates for these ones here. You can see here in the description it says with price and without price, because we don't want the one with price going to our shipping and receiving department. Pricing should only be information for accounting. So we had different templates. So I need to set up, when we go live with this, who the emails will be going to. So anytime something goes in pending, someone will get an email and say, okay, there's something pending waiting for you to be approved. Okay. Yep. So I can go like this, Mark Oliver, or sorry, Logi. Yeah. So I can put whatever. Yeah. Yep. So I can send to multiple emails. Yes. The history is just the archive of, just like normal how our system works. The history, once it's closed off, it goes to history. Okay. So how to actually create a return. So you can select two different returns, com or resale. When this was developed, this actually should not even be here, normal, whale, and laser. These are actual production options. So this is something that we'll have to look at down the road and getting removed. That's not a type of order. It's a type of production. So that's there by error. So what we'll do is we'll do resale. I'll select a resale customer. CamSlide is one of our biggest customers for that. So you can see the information of that customer populates. Now it says, okay, what's the credit reason? I'll do a simple one at first. I'll do just a credit one. So let's say there was a pricing issue. Okay. So I have to give the customer credit for this. Usually we get something called a customer complaint number, which is the customer's HCR number. So this is their number that they give us to reference. So right now I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4. Defective reasons. Since I'm doing a credit and it's just a pricing issue, there is no defect reason, so I'll just select no defect. Okay.
Good morning.
I have to pick something, yes. It's not optional. So that's why I created a code called no defect. Now there's a few options here. Mail complaint. Now this is going to be part of phase 2. It's just basically, right now it's just a checkbox. It doesn't do anything. So this one's a credit authorization. The next one's going to be when we actually have mail complaints. So I'm not going to go into detail about that, but that's just there for the next phase. Corrective action. This option is selected when, let's say there was, an actual issue like material defective. So a customer requires an action of what you're going to do to correct this, right? So it's just a checkbox to display on the printout of the form, because the customer has requested that you must provide a corrective action. Actually, when you view the form, so I'll just show you one of these forms here. You'll see up here corrective action required, yes or no. That's all it is. If checked, yes. If no, then no, nothing. Less scrap. I'm not going to go into detail on this yet. I'm going to go into detail when I actually show you when it's required, so it makes sense to you. Okay, ship via. Now, I'm not actually picking this up, or I'm not bringing back any material. I'm just giving it credit. So by default, we just say our truck. Okay. The next step is, so you'll see down here, there's two options: search sales invoice lines and search tags. Do you see that on my screen? I don't know if I'm showing you full screen. Okay, so you'll see that I can't select search tags because there's no tags required for this certain credit reason. So, but there's a credit required, so I have to select an invoice. So it's saying you've selected a credit only, but I have to reference which invoice I'm giving this credit for. What was the original invoice? So what you'll do is you'll select the invoice, you'll go search sales invoice line. It'll populate all the invoices that I've ever invoiced to Campsite. If I know the invoice, I can just filter it and type in the invoice number. I don't have one right now off by heart, so I'll just select one. So or if you know the dimensions or the date it was invoiced or something like that, you can go by that as well. So for now, I'll just select one invoice. And you can select multiple invoices if required. But right now, I'm just going to do one. Okay, let's go OK. So what that does now, it populates all the attributes of that invoice. The invoice number, the bill of lading it was shipped on, how many pieces were actually shipped. Now, technically, I'm not returning anything, but by default, it just puts that even though I'm just issuing a credit. How much weight. Now, again, I'm not returning any weight. I'm actually issuing a credit. So that it just gives me all the information about that invoice, what the invoice amount was, what the dimensions were, all that kind of stuff here. So this is just information. Up here is what I need to tell what it to do. So my credit reason is pricing issue. So I invoiced them at $40.39. What I should have invoiced them at, let's say, was $40. So it'll say here, you need to credit 39 cents. Okay, and here's the weight. And then you can see here the subtotal. So I'm going to issue them a credit for $43.24. Now, the tax does not get calculated until I hit apply. So you saw the tax now gets calculated, and the total changed. Now, let's say I was supposed to invoice them the other way, $41. We can't do that. You have to create a debit memo, which we do in our financial system. Okay, so I'm going to go back to $40 here. So I'm going to issue them a credit for 39 cents. This is the most basic. Okay, so I can add comments if I want for the customer. So to credit, whatever, pricing mistake on PO, whatever, doesn't matter. Just a comment, just to show you what shows on the form. So when we view the form, you can see I'm issuing a credit note. It adds a number. I haven't posted it yet. It's still in draft up here. Who it's going to, who the customer is, what the customer, it references the customer's number, customer complaint number, what the reason is, there's no defect, who our sales rep was, what the credit type is, it's just a credit, There's no mill complaint, and there's no corrective action required. The credit note does not get referenced until the credit note is actually officially created. So here's the dimensions of the coil. I'm issuing them a credit for 39 cents, and you'll see that I need to issue them a total of $48. So that's all good. The next step is down here, when you go to the actions button, I post it. So I'm the actual data entry person doing this. Once I post it, it's going to go into a pending status. Now, if you go back to the setup, the email setup, the person who gets the pending email will get an email now. In the test system, it's not set up to send an email, so I'm not going to get one. The SMTP server, I don't think, is set up to do that right now in the reloadable property file. Yeah, so I won't get one. So whoever will get this email, they'll come into the credit authorization form. They'll see, okay, I received the email will say there's a credit authorization pending waiting for you. Please go and approve it. So I'll come in here, I'll open this up, I'll review whatever I need to review, and I'll go actions, approve. Now you see there's another approval. It's only partially approved. We have a two-step approval here. So the person who is set up now to receive the partial approve, they'll get the email. They'll come in. Let me just close this. And they'll see the status has changed. They'll say partially approved. You can approve it directly from here. You can post it, approve it, or deny it. So I can right now say, you know what, the person who entered this made a mistake, I'll deny it. And the status will change to deny. And then that you're talking. So sorry, say that again. No, they don't have access. So that's why these two roles. Remember, I asked to separate those two roles. One's called a sales manager role and an account controller role. Just to show you. So there's an account controller role. This one here. This determines the user can go from fully approved to approved. The sales manager role, this role, which we're going to separate, determines a person can go from pending to approved. I looked into that the other day, and I believe they do not have access to do that. But let's just test it while we're at it here. Let's say, you know what, I can't test. Well, I could test it. Yeah, I did test that, and I actually do not remember if that's possible. I can do it quickly if you want. Here, let's just do it. I'm logged in as admin. I'll remove the sales manager role. I'll log back in as admin. And I'll go essentially post, unpost, sorry, actions, post. And yep, they can do it. Actually, look, they can't. That's weird. No, you know what? I think I removed the wrong role because if you look, it's grayed out. I can't even go to fully approved. I have the account controller, so that should allow me to fully approve it.